Hi guys, my name's Natalia and welcome back to my channel where I talk about books. So today I wanted to do a video where I talk about the 2024 releases I'm most excited for. So there's a lot of good thrillers and mysteries that I want to read that will come out in 2024, but I also added a few interesting fantasy books, so let's get into it. I would say the book I'm probably most excited for is The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson, and it's because I love Holly Jackson. I read the entire A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy and also her another YA thriller called Five Survive, and I loved both of them. So I'm really excited for this new book by Holly Jackson. So what this book is about, Belle's mom disappeared when she was young and she is the only witness, but she also has no memory of it. And the case is kind of dragged out from the past, and the Price family agrees to do a true crime documentary about Rachel, and while they are filming it, she actually miraculously comes back and she has like an unbelievable story about what had happened to her, but Belle isn't sure if she's actually telling the truth, so Belle wants to uncover the truth about what had happened. It sounds really interesting, and I mean, like I said, it's Holly Jackson. I love her writing, so I know I will enjoy this book so much. I'm so excited. Okay, the next book is by an author I have never read, but the synopsis sounds really interesting. It's called Murder Road by Simon St. James. So the premise of the book is that a newlywed couple is on their way to a small resort town for their honeymoon, and while they are going there, they spot a hitchhiker and they decide to help her, but soon they realize there's actually like blood seeping out of her. They take her to the hospital, but she ends up dying and they end up becoming suspects. And after that, they start digging more into the town's history and they try to figure out who is behind murders that have been happening in this town for years. So it sounds really interesting and I definitely want to read this one. Okay, so I talked about two thrillers. Maybe let's throw in some fantasy. This is also an author I have never read, but it sounds really interesting. This book is called A Tempest of Tea. I'm not sure how to pronounce the author, so just read it yourself. But the premise of the book is that Arthur owns a tea room that turns into a bloodhouse for an illegal bloodhouse for vampires at night. But when her business is threatened, she needs to make an unlikely deal in order to save it, and she cannot do it alone. So it sounds really interesting. It has vampires, which I love, and I definitely want to read this one. Okay, and another thriller that I'm excited for is The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. So I have read The Guest List by the same author. She's also written The Paris Apartment, which is on my TBR, but I haven't read it yet. I noticed she has a very specific way of writing thrillers. So there's always like a list of people and you see the story from everyone's point of view, something like that. It seems like this is the same format. So apparently it's a locked room murder mystery that takes place in a luxury resort, and again we have a list of these people. We've got the founder, the lover, the mystery guest, the kitchen help, and the detective, but like not all of them will survive, so I guess someone dies and all of them are suspects. I don't know, like I really enjoyed The Guest List, so I want to give this book a chance as well. It sounds really interesting, so I'm excited for that. Next one, it's not really a thriller, it's like a mystery. It's The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. If I'm not wrong, this is the 5th book in the Inheritance Games series. There is this competition called The Grandest Game, as the title suggests, and it's run by Avery and the Hawthorne brothers, which, if you've read the first 4 books in the series, you obviously know them very well. So Avery is now like a billionaire, and she designed this game in order to give anyone a shot at being famous and rich, but soon they realize that not everyone is playing by the rules. So yeah, I'm very excited to continue reading this series. I think it's really fun and very quick to read, very enjoyable, so I'm excited for this book. Okay, next one. This one I'm kind of excited, but also I'm a little nervous. So this one is called Bride by Ali Hazelwood. So I read one book by Ali Hazelwood, and it was The Love Hypothesis, and it wasn't terrible, but I didn't enjoy it too much. So she used to like write rom-coms, but now she is publishing a fantasy novel. So I'm just curious how it will turn out. So maybe more than being like super excited, I'm just curious, and you know, I want to give another chance. It's a completely new genre for her, so I'm just really curious, and it does sound interesting. I don't know, it gives me like a Twilight vibes, because these are like these vampires and the wares, which yeah, they are definitely werewolves. So yeah, basically there are the vampires and the wares, and they are mortal enemies, and our protagonist, who is a vampire, agrees to a marriage of convenience with the Where's Alpha, and yeah, that's basically the premise of the book. Okay, the next book that I am really excited for is The Fury. I'm not sure how to pronounce the author's name again, so I will just put it on the screen. But I have read The Silent Patient by the same author, and I loved it. It was such a good thriller mystery book, and now he's publishing a new one. And this one tells a story of an ex-movie star who invites a group of her friends to a private Greek island, but one of them ends up being murdered. So yeah, I guess it's a mystery of who did it. I don't know, I'm very excited. The plot within The Silent Patient was crazy, so I feel like this one might have a crazy plot twist as well, and I'm so excited for that. So the next book that I'm really excited for to come out, it's a fantasy book. It's called Lore of the Wilds. Again, not sure how to pronounce the author's name. I don't want to butcher it, so I'll just put the cover on the screen. In a land ruled by ruthless fae, Lore's village is trapped in a forested prison, and when her village is threatened, she makes a desperate deal with the Fae Lord. The deal is that she will leave her home to organize a magical library that hasn't been touched in years, and basically no fae can enter the library, but there's a chance that a human might be able to get through these cursed doors. So that's the deal that she makes, and as she navigates the world outside of her village, she needs to rely on 2 fae males to survive. So kind of does sound like a love triangle, maybe, I'm not sure, but honestly the premise sounds so interesting, and I'm really excited to read that one. Maybe let's get into another fantasy. This one is a historical fantasy called The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. So I really loved Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. I also read the Ninth House. That one I enjoyed less than the Six of Crows, but it was still very, very well written. So I'm really excited for her new book. Like I said, it's a historical fantasy set in 16th century Madrid. and the protagonist called Lucia, not sure how to pronounce it, but she can do magic and things change for her when she is discovered by Antonio, who is the secretary to the Spanish king, and the king is desperate for any advantage in the war against England, and Antonio will stop at nothing to gain the king's favor. So sounds very interesting. Lee Bardugo's writing is really excellent, so I really think it will be a very good book. Okay, and the last book, it's also a thriller. It's called Only If You're Lucky by Stacey Willingham. The premise of the book is that soon after graduating, Margot loses her best friend in a tragic accident, and then some time passes and she meets Lucy, who kind of ends up becoming her new best friend, and they also start living together on campus, and yeah, everything's going well until one day one of their neighbors is found brutally murdered and Lucy goes missing. So yeah, sounds very interesting. I've never read any book by this author, but it just sounds really interesting, so I added it to my TBR. Okay, so this is my list of books that I'm really excited for to come out in 2024. Of course, I'm sure this list will be longer with time, but for now, these are all the books that caught my attention. Let me know what guys you are most excited for to come out in 2024, and that's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe this channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.